Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley and I am your host for this evening's show. And what we talk about is anything to do with spirituality. So if you're interested in the mystical or the intuitive, this is the show for you. And we like you to call in with your questions. And we like you to call in and join in the discussion as well. If you're a bit shy, you can email us at info@drlesleyphillips.com. And you spell my name DRLESLEYPHILLIPS. So, what I thought I'd do today is I'm going to start a series of shows on the different intuitive abilities. Because I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there about what it means to be intuitive. People use the word intuitive, they use the word psychic, they use the word clairvoyant, they use the word medium, and I don't think that people understand what the distinction is between these different terms, and I don't think that they necessarily always understand how many different intuitive abilities there are. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that this evening, and depending on how much time we've got, we may go into depth on one of those abilities. So with your physical senses, you have 5 physical senses. You can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel things. There are actually the equivalent of those abilities in the intuitive senses. So that you can see intuitively, hear intuitively, feel intuitively, even taste and smell intuitively. But that's not all. I've been writing a book about this actually. It's not published yet, but there are, well, in my book there's 25 different intuitive abilities. And so the intuitive senses go far beyond the physical senses. So you can think about it like the physical senses operate within a certain limited bandwidth of frequencies, and the intuitive abilities open you up to be able to tune in to a much wider and broader range of frequencies. So being psychic or being intuitive is not just one thing. It's many different things, and depending on the person tuning into their intuitive abilities, they can be using a completely different faculty than another person. So for example, they could be seeing as spirit, and that is an ability that is commonly called clairvoyance. Translated from the French, that simply means clear seeing. It's the ability to see the truth. It's the ability to tell the truth from a lie. And it's also the ability to see things like auras and energy. Now, they could be hearing as spirit, and that is called clairaudience. And that's an ability that helps you to tune into, perhaps you have some spirit guides and you can listen to what they're saying. Or you can even tune in and listen to instead of listening to the radio, listen to the music of the spheres in the angelic realms. Your clairaudience allows you to tune into that. Now, they're quite common. The ones that I mentioned about tasting and smelling, they're actually quite rare. They're called clairolfaction for smelling and clairgustance for tasting. but they're still genuine intuitive abilities. And I'll give you an example of how you might see those be used. First of all, with someone who is working as a medium, they may intuit information from somebody who's passed over through a sense of smell or a sense of taste. So, for example, if old Uncle Harold used to smoke a particular brand of Cuban cigar, and the medium who's getting the information smells cigars, then that's a way of connecting Uncle Harold to the person that he's trying to talk to. Because she'll say, I've got a gentleman here and he's smoking a Cuban cigar. And she might be receiving that information through her own sense of smell. And the same thing for clairgustance. If Auntie Mary used to bake apple pies, the medium, or even you yourself taste apple pies, then it might mean that Auntie Mary's come for a visit. There are other ways in which these abilities can be used. And, for example, in detective work, actually, that it's possible to, or even as a healer, to be able to smell or taste, as if you're doing detective work, it could be, that a person was murdered by poisoning, and you get a clue as to what happened through the sense of smell or the sense of taste. If you're a healer, you might intuit through the sense of smell or taste that somebody's eating the wrong foods, that they need to eat more spinach, or they need to take a particular herbal supplement, or so on. Now, the one of those 5 that I mentioned tonight, and on future shows we will get to all 25 of these. The other one that I was going to mention tonight, because these are more common ones and you can probably identify with them better because they are parallel to the physical senses, and that is clairsentience, and that means clear feeling, and it refers to your ability to tune into feelings and emotions. Now, the primary purpose of this ability is actually body-spirit communication. So you have a body, you are not your body. Your body is something that you have created to have focused experiences through in physical reality so that you can expand your consciousness. So you are a high vibration spiritual being. So how do you, the spiritual being, communicate with your physical body? And the answer is clairsentience. The emotions of the physical body are the primary way for the body to communicate with spirit. They're messages from the body about how it is experiencing the situation that you have put it in. So it's meant to help you, the spiritual being, work together with your body. It's meant to help you to wake up inside yourself, become consciously aware, and be consciously operating as spirit through your body. And to do that, you need to keep the body happy. You need to understand its needs, and you need to work with it rather than fight against it. Now, most people use their clairsentience in a completely different way than this. And I should mention at this point, clairsentience is an ability that every single human being has. Every single one of you has this, whether you are aware of it or not. Some of these abilities are rarer and some of them are more common, and this is one of the very common ones. We all have it. And how most people use it is to intuit how other people are feeling. Okay, so you can connect with how you're feeling through it, but also how other people are feeling. And this is because, I guess, when you're born in the world, what's going on in the people around you becomes important. Is mummy angry? Because if she's angry, maybe I should stay in my room. Or is daddy angry? Maybe I should hide in the closet. Or, when mummy's sad, she forgets about me and forgets to feed me, or whatever it is. so our survival often depends, and our safety often depends on other people and their emotions. And so we focus this gift outside of ourselves. And actually, people who are tuning into their clairsentience, there are certain challenges that they can face, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But first of all, I've got a little quiz here, and this is like my top 10 clues to know whether you are tuning in to your clairsentience, whether this is an ability that is in focus for you. Because while everybody has it, it might not be in focus for everyone as a major thing. So, do you rely on your gut feelings about things? That's clue number 1. Do you often feel overwhelmed by confusing and conflicting emotions? Are you sensitive to the emotions of others without them having to tell you how they feel? You just know how they feel. Or are you somebody that if you go out in a crowd, if you're out in the supermarket, you feel completely overwhelmed? You can't get out of there quick enough. That can be because, we walk around in a sea of energy all day, of other people's energy and other people's emotions. And so where there's a crowd, somebody who's particularly sensitive on this level gets very quickly overwhelmed because they're experiencing not only their own emotions, but the emotions of everyone in the crowd. So it can take a little bit of mastery and understanding this ability and how to be in control of it so that you're not so affected. Now, I've lost track of how many I've read out, but I'll do some more. Can you tell when someone's focusing on you when you have your back to them? That can be clairsentience too. So we can extend this ability to feelings as well as emotions. Does separating yourself from others help you to feel clearer? So this is a little extension of what I was saying a moment ago, that having other people's energy in your space, having other people's emotions in your space is just so confusing. You just, you don't know how you feel about anything, so you need to separate yourself from people. Are you a people pleaser? Do you put the needs of other people before your own? That's a really common one. And actually another name for people who have this ability, which is commonly used, is empath. So if you've heard that term bandied about, oh, well, I'm an empath, or this person, she's an empath, we're referring to the same thing that I'm talking about here, which is clairsentience. Now, it can also, if you're a people pleaser, it can be generally difficult for you to express your own emotions because you're always putting other people's emotions ahead of your own. In fact, you can completely lose touch with your own needs and your own boundaries because of that. Do you feel other people's pain or take on that pain in sympathy? That's a pitfall for people who are having their clairsentience be awakened, that you can get, as you're sharing energy with other people and feeling their emotions, you can feel in pain and anguish, and it's not your pain and it's not your anguish, it's coming from another person. In fact, you may be feeling emotions and feel confused about them. You may be having conflicting emotions, and that's because it's not just your own emotions that you're tuning into. And the other thing is, are there moments when your emotions get out of control? All of these factors can be clues to you experiencing your clairsentience. And because we don't acknowledge this in the real world as a real thing, a lot of people are just really affected by this. By this sense of overwhelm, and they have no clue how to manage it, how to be on top of it, how to separate themselves out of the milieu of other people's emotions so that they can be clear about themselves and how they're feeling and what they want. So clairsentience can be a challenge. Now, I've talked a lot about how foreign energy can impact you through this ability. It just can be so confusing and overwhelming. The other thing that can happen is this people pleaser thing that I talked about, being responsible for other people, thinking that you're so sensitive to the way other people are feeling, you think you have to be responsible for their problems. And, this happens when young children feel they need to please their parents and heal their parents, and as they grow up, it just expands to everybody else in their lives, and you become somebody that just sacrifices yourself for, misguidedly, as you think, for the benefit of other people. And another thing about clairsentience is that they may stay in bad situations for the sake of other people. They may allow themselves to be mistreated because they are so empathetic to another person. And, there are other things. You can feel different. You can feel like the black sheep. You can feel like, well, why don't other people have these types of experiences that I'm having? You can be labeled as a loner because you need your space and you can't be around too many other people at the same time. Another characteristic of a clairsentient is avoiding confrontation. They will avoid confrontation at all costs. And there are others that I could go over, but I'm going to just talk a little bit about, we've talked about what the challenges are. Are there any benefits to this ability? And yes, there are. I talked about one at the beginning, and that is body-spirit communication. So it helps you to communicate with your body. And sensing other people's emotions is not such a bad thing if you're in charge of your clairsentience. It can make you be one of the most wonderful friends that it's possible for somebody to have. It can make you be a fabulous mother when you're looking after a new baby or a pre-verbal toddler, because they can't express what they're saying, but you can understand what they're meaning by listening to their emotional signals through your clairsentience. Can even be valuable for business people because you can take the sentiment in a room through your clairsentience. You can, in the middle of a negotiation, you can really intuit how another person is feeling. The other thing is, if you have family members that live far away, it can help you stay in touch with them. So even at a distance, you can feel how they are feeling, and you can feel comforted by the fact if you're sensing that they are happy. And of course, you can sense energy fields using your clairsentience, and you can also sense spirits. And so some people who work as an intuitive or a medium or so forth, they will tune into their spirit guide by sensing a hand on their shoulder or some like a brush across the, a feather across the cheek or something. That's also clairsentience. Love to hear from you if you recognized yourself in any of the things that I've been saying so far. If you want to have a discussion about being an empath or being a clairsentient, or ask questions about your experiences. But if you have a pressing question that's to do with something else entirely, don't let this hold you back. We are open to any and all calls, whatever you want to ask me about. And if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Dr. Lesley. I'm a professional intuitive. I am actually clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, claircognizant, so many different intuitive abilities. I love speaking about them, I love doing them, and I love helping other people understand how to activate their own abilities. back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley, obviously, and I'm your host. We're opening the lines now to your calls. If you're a bit shy, you can always email us on info@drlesleyphillips.com. Today we've been talking about emotions and clairsentience and being an empath. Oh, here we go. Hello, Corey.
Hello, Dr. Lesley. I have an email question for you from Patty. And Patty wants to know, I've just lost my father, and I'm overwhelmed with grief and feel very lost. Before he died, I had plans to move and start a new career, but now I just can't seem to move forward.
Thank you. Well, very sorry for your loss, Patty, and I'll take a look at what's going on with you and the grief, which of course is an emotion that we feel when we lose a loved one. Just before I answer you, I just want to explain to the listeners out there, if this is the first time you've listened in, I'll explain a little bit about what I do. I actually go into a very light self-induced trance when somebody asks me a question, and that enables me to shut out the noise of the ordinary reality and tune into a subtle, intuitive reality. And so I just take a moment to do that, which I'm doing right now. And I'm going to tune into Patty and take a look at what is going on for her. And it's a huge growth period, Patty. It really is. And I'm seeing a number of different things that are happening. And I'll talk about the number one reason why you're having difficulty moving forward. And there's a couple of reasons. And then we'll talk about the grief and the passing from your father. The first thing that I'm seeing, interestingly enough, is that there's actually a lot of fear in your energy field. I'm seeing that your own body got completely freaked out by the fact that your father died. And I don't know whether this is the first close person in your life that's passed away, but it just looks like it was a real shock to your body. And so your body got very afraid because there's a realization that bodies don't last forever. And oh my goodness me, one day it will be, my turn. And so, and of course, as I said earlier in the show, the body is a vessel and death is not the end. We all go on beyond the physical plane. In fact, this is more of the temporary place. The spiritual, the other higher dimensional spiritual levels are really where we're at all the time. We're just pulling our energy back from the current incarnation when somebody passes. But I'm seeing your body got afraid, and what fear does is it freezes you. You get stuck. Fear freezes you. We've all seen that, the wild animal that gets caught in the glare of the headlights of an oncoming car and can't move to save its life. That's fear. It freezes you on the spot. And so that's part of the reason why you're finding it difficult to move forward after the death of your father. And the other thing is, I'm seeing that in going into fear, you lost your grounding. In losing your grounding, you kind of spaced out a little bit from your body. So I'm also seeing that your energy is not occupying your body. And of course, the less of you that's in your body, the less in control of your life you are. And so that's also contributing to the feeling of being stuck. I'm also seeing another reason why you're not present all the time is the overwhelming grief that you are feeling. It looks like you, the spiritual being, take a break from your body every now and then, because at the moment it's sort of a grief-filled place is not the most pleasant place to hang out. Of course, though, it's a natural process that you're going through. So let's take a look at the overwhelming grief that you're feeling. So here is a man that you have known your entire life. There's never been a moment in this lifetime that that man did not exist. He was there from the moment that he was there from the moment that the sperm hit the egg, through your gestation, your birth, every moment of your life. This person and the parents are the closest relationships we really ever have. They're the primary relationships. Those people are the people that they form so much of who we become. They inform our beliefs about everything, our behavior patterns, so much. And so when that person withdraws their energy from the physical plane, it feels like you're being wrenched apart from a part of yourself, or it can do, because this is someone who you've been so close to and has been so formative in your life. And so the other thing we would say is, be kind to yourself and give yourself a break, because what you're going through is natural. The grieving process is a natural process, and if you don't allow yourself to grieve fully now, and if you bury your grief, then that may come back to haunt you at some point later in your life. So it's best to give yourself the space and time to recover. Now, if you've listened before to the show, Patty, you might have heard me talking about a meditation technique called grounding. And I'd love to share that with you, because I think it would help you with this. And all that you do is you create a flow of energy that goes from near the base of your spine to the center of the earth. And you can do it while you're meditating. So you sit in a straight back chair, feet flat on the floor, hands resting in your lap. Breathe deeply and close your eyes and visualize a flow of energy going from near the base of your spine to the center of the earth. That will do two things for you. It will help anchor you back into your body, and it will give you a conduit for releasing unwanted energy. You can release your fear down your grounding, and you can release your grief down your grounding as well, so that you can start anew, both in your life and with your new relationship with your father, who is now in non-physical reality. So, Patty, I really, really hope that my answer has helped comfort you and give you some information that is useful. I'm going to move on and see if there is another caller now. So this is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and we are talking about emotions, feelings, empathy, clairsentience today. Hello?
Hello, I have a question from Katie. And Katie'd like to know, so I just moved to a new city to study yoga, but feel lost emotionally. What am I battling with? Why am I struggling so much to walk on the path I took a year to decide on?
Great question. Thank you, Katie. All right. So, same thing. I need to tune into your energy by just going into a very light self-induced trance, so that I can tune out physical reality and tune into spiritual reality and take a look at you and your energy. And of course, in physical reality, we're limited by time and space. In spiritual reality, we are not. And that is why I can read people at a distance. So, Katie's moved to a new city, and she wanted to study yoga, but she's feeling lost emotionally. And she's battling and struggling, and this is the thing that she took a long time to decide to do it, and now she's doing it. It's not going smoothly, so let's take a look. Well, let me see. It might take me a moment to get information about this, because it feels to me like it's not what you expected at all. It's not what you expected at all, and I'm seeing that you are experiencing some emotional pain around this, for sure. And I'm looking at the main spiritual growth period that you're in right now. And it's a growth period around affinity, and in particular, self-affinity and self-love. I'm seeing that one of the main vibrations that you're running right now is a pink vibration, and it's a vibration of tenderness and caring and looking after yourself and honoring yourself and honoring your feelings. And it looks like you set this experience up for yourself so that you would have the opportunity to do that, to learn about honoring your feelings. And also just not to keep pushing yourself to do something, even though you decided it and you put a lot of energy into deciding it, if it's not feeling right for you. So I'm seeing that, and I'm going to look at your path and look at where you are now and look at where you've been and look at... Yes, because you see, I'm seeing that it looks like what you've learned is you thought there would be joy for you in this experience, and there isn't. And instead of saying, oh, well, tried that, did that, I guess I'll just move on to the next thing, because you put so much energy and effort into deciding to do it in the first place, it's like you're forcing yourself, no, I have to keep doing this. I have to keep living here, and I have to keep going to this yoga school, and so you're having a fight with yourself. You're having a fight with yourself because it's like, well, if I give up, I've failed. If I give up, you're judging yourself about the fact that you should be, this should be right for you. But I'm seeing that it's not, and that you know that it's not, and that you're feeling that it's not, and you're sort of halfway through this battle of all the shoulds and ought tos versus your truth and your love for yourself and honoring yourself in terms of what makes you happy. So always follow your joy. Always follow what feels good to you. If something doesn't feel good to you, it's not the right thing for you. Follow the path of joy and light and freedom and ease, and let go of what is crippling you and causing you to struggle. All right, Katie, I hope that that's helped you. We'll see if we can get through a few more calls after the next break. Back in a minute or two. This is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. We are talking about clairsentience, emotions, feeling, being an empath, and the lines are open to your calls. And of course, you can call about anything you want, or you can email us. So email us on info@drlesleyphillips.com. Hello, do we have another question?
Yes, I got another email question from Cindy. And Cindy asks, when will I be able to get back to seeing, feeling, and hearing spirits? Is this my path?
Great question, Cindy. I'll take a look at that for you. Just tuning into your energy. So, it's interesting. So, I'm seeing that you're in a growth cycle of healing yourself at the moment. And it's actually part of your path to go through this healing cycle, because I'm seeing what it's doing is it's helping you release and let go the things that are in your way of going further with your desire to do these things. So it looks like what happened to you is that you were starting to open up, and then you were inundated and overwhelmed with attention from the spirit world, and you didn't know how to handle it. And I'm especially seeing with respect to your clairaudience, actually. So it's almost like I'm seeing you sort of hearing so many voices that it's really like crazy making and feeling like you're mad. And so shutting that ability down temporarily while you sort of ramp yourself up to handle it, and while you figure out how to be more in control of it. And I'll just sort of diverge a little bit to just do a little bit of teaching around this, that for all of these intuitive abilities, this can happen. If you have your bandwidth set too broadly, there can be many incoming signals and you can feel overwhelmed. And if you don't know what's happening, you might go to the doctor and be diagnosed with mental illness. So there are techniques that you can use to learn to consciously control just tuning into a single bandwidth, and for that to be the bandwidth of your choice. So maybe you want to listen to your spirit guide. So you just tune into just the voice of your spirit guide rather than, because of course, just like in physical reality, we have all sorts of people, don't we, with some benevolent and some non-benevolent motives. It's the same thing in the spirit world. We tend to be under this misguided impression that if you're in the spirit world, you're some amazing guru with access to the secrets of the universe. And there's actually a great variety of beings in spirit. And some of them, yes, they're angels and they're ascended masters, but some of them are just like you and me and other ordinary people, just on a path to learning and expanding. And not all of them, are the best people to hang out with, just as we choose our friends in physical reality. So I'm seeing that it's sort of like you started opening up and some of the spirit world went, hey, there's a party going on over there and with Cindy, let's go join in. And it was like, oh my God, I can't handle this, so I'm going to shut it down. So I'm going to take a look at the feeling, because that's the one we've been talking about today, see if there's anything else to sort of say about that. Yes, there is. When you're on a spiritual path, and when you're very interested in using your intuitive abilities to, especially to read and advise others, but even if you're only just doing it for yourself, it's really important to do your inner work. It's really important to delve deeply into your shadow side. It's really important for you to, in inverted commas, clean your temple. Your body is your vessel. And the intuitive signals coming through that vessel won't be clear if you are not clear. They'll be muddied. So if you have a lot of emotional baggage, if you've stored a lot of experiences from the past that were non-beneficial and unsavory, and a whole bunch of beliefs around limited ways of looking at the world, whatever it is, whatever you're carrying around with you is a filter that these signals will come through. And so that's the stage that you're at right now. You're healing yourself, and especially on the level of the emotional levels, I'm seeing you be in a big growth cycle with respect to your, well, I'll call it your second chakra. And for those of you who don't know what a chakra is, it's the energy center that's in your belly, 2 finger widths below your navel, and it's the one that's responsible for this ability that we've been talking about today, which is clairsentience or clear feeling. You are sifting through, just as we were talking about earlier, all the foreign energy that you have absorbed into that area of your system, because you want to be able to be clear and be receiving clear information and be giving clear information out to others. And I'm seeing at the moment your vessel is got some things in it that would get in your way of doing that. And I'll see if there's anything to say about the seeing, which is the clairvoyance. Anything different than we've already said? Yes, there is. So the 2 things that I teach anyone first, one is grounding, that we talked about earlier in the show, and the other is centering. Centering is where you place your consciousness in the center of your head. It's actually your pineal gland, and it's a place where you can start to stimulate and activate your clairvoyance. But the other thing about this is it places your consciousness in a position of neutrality, where you can be really neutral about your experiences. So if you are being bombarded with other people's emotions or partying spirits that want to come and, play with you. If you keep your focus in the center of your head, you'll be able to be neutral and non-judgmental about it and just observe it and go, oh, look, this is happening. I better do something about that then. If you're not in the center of your head, the danger is that you're just drawn into this battle or resistance or pulled into the emotional level. So you want to be centered. So I'm seeing that, Cindy, it's happening. It's in process. You're healing yourself. And if you take my tips of doing your grounding and your centering, that will help that move along for you. I think we've probably got time for maybe one more question. So I am going to turn back to the phone lines and see if anybody else wants to talk to us today on Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley about being an empath, about intuitive feeling, about anything to do with the emotions or anything else for that matter. And, here we go. Hello.
Hello, I've got an email question just came in from Gita, and it's kind of interesting. I was born on March 8th, 1980 at 11:10 a.m. I was born in, Moko Chung, Nagaland. I'll try that one again. Mokok Chung, Nagaland, India. I probably massacred that one. I want to know about my past life.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's a different subject, but that's fine. So, Gita, and if you want to know about your past life, all I need is your first name. I don't need to know when you were born. I don't need to know where you were born. It's not like doing an astrology chart. It's more about tuning into your energy. And, okay, Gita, let's do a little past life reading for you then. I'm just tuning into Gita's energy. If you're just tuning in, I just have to go into a light self-induced trance and take a look. So the first thing, Gita, is you have a very long timeline on this planet. You're an old soul. You've been incarnating on this planet since the beginning of souls incarnating on this planet. So you've had many past lives. And I'm going to read a past life that is relevant to your current life, because the current life is the one that is important for you. That's one of the dangers of past lives, is that we can get swept away with who we were once before and forget about who we are today. So we don't want to do that. But certainly the soul will learn things and expand its consciousness over many lifetimes. And so we can find things that are relevant within past lives. The other thing is, I'm just going to check in with you in the current life first, and then I'll read a past life. So when I look at you, you've got lovely bright energy, by the way, Gita. Beautiful bright energy, and look like somebody who has a real sense of fun and a real sense of humor, very light-hearted. And I'm seeing you're in a growth period of following your joy. And it looks like you're also a very spiritual person as well. So it looks like part of this path that you're following has to do with spiritual devotion. And I'm going to look at a past life. One's coming up a quarter of the way down your timeline. And I'm looking for a symbol. And the symbol is a child's toy. And it's made of wood. It's carved completely from wood. And it's on a piece of string so that the child can pull it along. And I'm seeing the child is a young boy. He looks like he might be 4 or 5 years old. And he's Caucasian, so you're not in India. You are... Oh, hang on a minute. All right, he's Caucasian, but I heard, no, she is in India. So it's in the days of the British Empire. And You were born in India to one of the colonial families that settled there in the days of, the British Empire. So let's see. So you live in a beautiful colonial home. It looks like your family is wealthy. They have a lot of land. There's agriculture of some kind that they're doing. So they're landowners and tradespeople, or that's part of the business and part of the wealth that they have, is that it looks like they have a lot of land, not just the land around the house. Looks like they might have a tea plantation and some other things as well, spices and so on, that they cultivate and trade in and have them shipped over to the West as well. But anyway, there's you're this little boy on this colonial estate in India. And I'm seeing that you were actually quite lonely. At the point that I'm looking at you, it looks like you're an only child. And it looks like you weren't allowed to play. It looks like there was no other white children around, but there was lots of little Indian children around, but you were not allowed to play with them because I guess in those days it was not seen appropriate. And I'm also seeing that the adults were engaged in adult things, and it was sort of like the children were kept in the nursery and kept with the nanny, and I'm seeing you be so lonely, and I'm seeing you really craving your mother's affection. And I'm seeing your mother was a little bit of she enjoyed the social things of life. She was always having people over for tea or cocktails or whatever, and there were brief moments that you got to spend with her, and not as much as you would have liked. So, yeah, feeling very lonely, and that feeling very lonely made you feel not good enough, made you feel like there was something wrong with you or something that wasn't acceptable about you.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.